Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and let's start the show. Here's what's driving me crazy: the Kobe Bryant story. It's dominated America's national landscape in the last few days since the former NBA player, died. The beatification is making me sick. It's way over the top. America, let's get some perspective. Please. The overkill on the coverage is ridiculous. I was at the t shirt shop on Sunday getting a t shirt made. Kobe Bryant had just died. It was all over everybody's phones. I saw 4 different people come in and spend a long time making memorial t shirts. If only Americans had this kind of respect, this kind of desire to deify people who actually do something great for our country beyond entertaining us in pro sports. If only America cared about people working to cure cancer. If only Americans cared as much about people fighting on the front lines to keep us free, people risking their lives every single day to get kids and families out of burning buildings. Those are America's real heroes, not a guy who played basketball. And yeah, I know I'm being told by the media, and so are you, that Kobe Bryant was this great guy. He did so much for America. But when you ask people, they don't really know what exactly he did do. I think America loves its empty heroes, and we see that every single day of the week. We have this sick cult of personality where it's all about celebrities. It's not about what's good for America, what's good for North Dakota, what's good for Bismarck and Fargo and all of our communities around and in between. What's good for them is not this endless beatification of Kobe Bryant. He was not a saint. He was a basketball player. Yeah, I know he was a great basketball player when he played. But even at that, he was only something like the 20th best NBA player in history by most of the rankings I've seen. But again, America loves its empty heroes. Look at the beatification of 2 other people that are just like him: Prince Harry and Princess Meghan. I don't know if I'm allowed to call them that anymore, am I? Who knows? I don't know the etiquette of these endless this endless parade of people who are basically welfare queens. That by the luck of the draw, they became talented because they're big and tall and fast and strong. Or by the luck of the draw, they were born out of the right womb and it happened to be a British royal. Or they married that person that was born out of the right vaginal canal. Does that make them special? Does that make them great? No, absolutely not. And let's look at what Kobe Bryant's done. What has he done? When I've asked people who tell me he's such a good guy, they can't really point to why he's such a good guy. I have no idea. But I'll tell you this: a lot of people's lives have already been ruined because they tried to tell the truth about why maybe he's not such a good guy. There's a Washington Post reporter. She tweeted on Sunday after Kobe Bryant's death and the news of it broke. And she tweeted about his rape accusations against him in Colorado back in the early 2000s. As you may recall, and I think most people don't recall because apparently we're not allowed to talk about that on television. We're not allowed to talk about that on the news. We're not allowed to talk about that and tell people, hey, here's the other side of Kobe Bryant. Because if you do that, you're racist. You're insensitive. You don't care that 2 people died. And by the way, it wasn't just 2 people, it was 9. But we rarely hear about the other 7. I bet if I ask you, you couldn't even tell me one of their names. Anyway, back to what Kobe Bryant did. There was a rape case. It was reported in all of the mainstream media, not just me, conservative Debbie Schlussel. It was reported in mainstream media outlets that Kobe Bryant went to a hotel in Colorado. He talked to the woman who was the hotel manager at the time. She showed him around, and then he wouldn't let her out of his hotel room, and he raped her. He says he didn't. He claims it was consensual, but in fact, he lied to the police 3 times and told them he didn't have sex with her. Then he threw a t-shirt covered in semen at the police. This isn't a saint. This is a lowlife. This is what America is worshiping? Please, come on. We don't have better people than that in our 330 million people? Come on. Let's be a little bit more selective about who we're worshiping. Then, after he got this woman to settle a civil lawsuit against him, and part of that settlement was that she would agree not to testify against him in the criminal case, which is why the case was dismissed. Not because he was necessarily innocent, but because she refused to testify. He released a statement in which he apologized to her, in which he said he could understand why she believed that he raped her. Is that the statement of an innocent person? If you didn't rape somebody, Kobe, why did you say, well, I apologize, I'm sorry, and I could see why you think I raped you? That's not the statement of an innocent man. And an innocent man does not lie to the police 3 times and lay out all kinds of expletive-laden statements to the police, which he did. You can look up the police report online. Look up the story by the Daily Beast that the Washington Post reporter tweeted, and then the newspaper suspended her for daring to tell the truth because she apparently is a racist too, or insensitive, or apparently wanted them to die. That's all the things that have been attributed to myself, to this Washington Post reporter, to anybody else that dares to give you both sides of the story, the complete picture. But we don't in America want to hear the complete picture. Again, we've got a cult of personality. We like our empty heroes, and we don't want to hear anything that distracts us from that phony narrative. Then there are those other 7 victims. They are not from families of millionaires and billionaires. They don't have helicopters to go to work and commute all over California traffic every day like Kobe Bryant did. These 7 people went on his helicopter, which, by the way, he arrogantly named after the nickname that he arrogantly gave himself, Black Mamba. He gave himself this nickname. This guy was an egomaniac, not a hero. Those 7 people that were on that helicopter gave their lives to be with Kobe Bryant and travel in his luxury style. And they gave their lives. Was it worth being part of his posse? I don't think so. And now their families have to grieve and mourn in silence because the media barely pays them any attention because, again, they weren't heroes because they weren't strong, fast, and tall by the accident of birth and didn't make millions of dollars. Kobe Bryant did do one thing that I actually liked that was admirable. He didn't do what tens of thousands of athletes do, and that is pretend to be a college student and waste taxpayer money while he whiled away in college until he went to the pros. So he gets kudos from me for that. A little bit of kudos, but it doesn't make up for this beatification of Kobe Bryant that is way over the top and that you can't stray from. And if you do, you get harassed and attacked. This Washington Post reporter, her life was threatened. She had to remove her tweets. Mark Twain once said that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Well, I would add to that. There are lies, damn lies, and NBA statistics and false heroes. We have too many false heroes in America. And again, I know I'll be called racist again by saying this because he happens to be black, which really should be irrelevant to the story, except that I think all of this adulation has happened in large part because of his race and because of America's tendency now to bend over backwards based on race, lest we be called racist. But listen, the lesson here is not about race. It's about the company you keep. We're always told you can tell people a lot by the company they keep. And it's also by the false gods you worship. Most people in America didn't keep company with Kobe Bryant, but they're acting like they did, like they knew him personally. Instead, he is a false god that they're worshiping, and that's what's driving me crazy. Now on to a different topic, one that I find much more interesting than Kobe Bryant because it affects our long-term survival as a nation, and that is immigration. America is being plagued by immigration not just illegal, but also the legal kind. We have people that have come here legally that shouldn't be here, that are overwhelming the system. We don't have the resources to handle them. We also don't have the immigration judges to handle them, the law enforcement to handle them, and the public resources to handle them. It's estimated that in Los Angeles County alone, the anchor babies and children of illegal aliens, and for those of you who don't know, anchor babies, it is not a derogatory term. It's a truthful term. It's the term used for the kids born here of illegal alien parents. And unfortunately, even though I believe they should not be recognized as U.S. citizens, and that's a topic for another day, America does give them automatic citizenship. And they are costing in LA County alone, billions of dollars just to teach them in the public schools, to give them school lunches, because many of these families are not working. They're on the public dole. It costs billions of dollars. And that's in LA County. Here in North Dakota, you might think, well, it's not as big of a deal. In 2019, so the year that just ended, we took in 126 immigrants here in North Dakota. That may seem like a small number, not a big deal. 126 people, you won't even notice them. But if even one of them is a terrorist, if even one of them comes to this country believing that it's okay to honor kill women, it's okay to blow up fellow Americans when you don't get what you want and you don't like America's position in foreign policy, or you don't like that American women might wear short sleeves and not cover their hair in a headscarf. If even one person like that believes that's okay,
Commissioners, I'm Nancy
and they
Hyatt.
take
I'm
somebody
with
else's
Marcy.
life, a fellow North Dakotan, because they don't identify as a North Dakotan, and they think it's okay to kill these people, if even one person is killed, that's a price that's way too high to pay. But we took in 126 immigrants, and where are they from? They're not from places like Norway and Sweden and Great Britain. And even if they were, that's another topic where they shouldn't get automatic citizenship. They shouldn't get the kind of lax vetting that they would get if they came here from those countries. But we took in 126 immigrants from places like Iraq and Somalia. Why are we taking in people from Iraq? I thought President Bush told us when he was president and he wasted thousands of American lives to go to war there, to hand over Iraq from one group of Muslims who hate us, the Sunnis, headed by Saddam Hussein in that country, to another group of Muslims who hate us, the Shiites, who are basically being told what to do by the country of Iran, another one of our enemies. When he wasted American lives to do that, he told us that democracy in the Middle East had been restored in Iraq, that the war was over, things were good. Well, if they're so good, why are we taking in refugees from Iraq? Why are they refugees? I thought things were better there. I thought that's why we went over there, or at least one of the reasons. So why do they need to come here if the war is over and things are so good now? Maybe it's because things aren't so great there now. They're the same as they have been in that region for thousands of years, at least since 1399 when Islam was invented. After the religion was created, there was a disagreement between the successors or the would-be successors to Muhammad as the chief of Islam. And at least two sects were created. There are many sects that are part of these sects, but the major two sects are Shiism and Sunnism. And the Shiites and the Sunnis have been warring each other and hating each other and murdering each other in very barbaric ways ever since. That is still going on. Our war in Iraq and the thousands of American lives and limbs we gave and billions and trillions of dollars in American money we showered on them, none of that made a difference. They're still warring against each other. So should we take in people from the entire Middle East because Sunnis and Shiites can't get along? Absolutely not. Now, we have taken in some Christians from Iraq, But I'll bet if you go in, and we don't categorize by religion. Unfortunately, we should do that, but we're not allowed because the ACLU and all of the other defenders of terrorism and criminals in America will continue to stop us from doing this. But we should categorize who we take in and what religion they are. Since we don't do that, we won't know how many Iraqis that came here are Muslims, how many are Christians. Christians are really the only people in Iraq that I think we should care about. They are under attack. They've always been under attack from both the Sunnis and the Shiites. Things are much worse for them now. The Chaldean community in Iraq, which is the majority of the Christians there, has shrunk. It's very tiny. They are Catholics, and many of them have come to America. Many are still trying to get here. We're not putting a priority on them. I don't know how many in North Dakota are Christians from Iraq, but I would bet it's very small. Let's look at who some of the immigrants are that have come into America, though. They're not people who are assimilating. In years past, in decades past, when we brought people into America, we looked at not only who these people were, but how could they contribute to American society? Did they bring skills? Were they going to immediately go into the workforce? Were they going to steal American jobs, or were they going to create new jobs? Were they going to add wealth to our economy or suck it out of our economy and be on public assistance? It used to be that if you came over, for example, to Ellis Island, the immigration officers could interview you and decide, no, you're sick, you have a bad cold, we're going to send you back. You're not going to be working, you're going to risk American lives, you have some kind of illness, we're going to send you back. It used to be they could look at you and say, no, you have no relatives here to sponsor you, you have no skills, you're going to go on welfare, you're going to be on public assistance, you have to go back, and they could turn you away. But for years, we've stopped doing that. And since we've stopped doing that, it's been a disaster. We've had many immigrants come to places like Dearborn, Michigan, where it is dominated by extremist Muslims that support terrorist groups and openly are proud of it. Groups like Hezbollah that murdered Americans more than any other terrorist group other than Al-Qaeda. We have people coming all over to the country that support these terrorist groups, and we don't know because we spend so little time vetting them. And even if we wanted to vet them, we have very little way to do that. We're not going to go to the government of Iraq and tell us, hand over your information on them, because they won't give it to us. And they don't have very good records. And they don't know who a lot of these people are. These people come over here and use fake names, and we have no way to vet their names to find out who they are. If even one of those people comes to North Dakota and does something like we've seen in San Bernardino, like we saw at the Boston Marathon, like we saw at Fort Hood, where they shot up 13 soldiers and murdered one of our soldiers and her unborn baby. If even one of those people does that, it's a price way too high to pay. I'll give you some examples of some of the immigrants that have come here legally, not just illegally, but legally. They've been vetted. The government tells us we've looked into them, please. They haven't looked into them. They spend, the average person, by the way, at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, where our government is supposed to vet these people, spends less than 5 minutes on average vetting immigrants. We don't have enough people working there. They don't spend enough time vetting these immigrants. 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, and that doesn't account for the bathroom breaks and smoking breaks. Yes, people still do smoke, of these immigration vetters who are called immigration benefits adjudicators. You are not going to find out if somebody's a terrorist threat by spending 5 minutes on them. You just won't. And they don't even have access to all of the terrorist lists that an FBI agent or an ICE agent would have access to. What are we doing here? This is our national security. This is American lives at stake that these people might threaten. We're not vetting these people. And I'll give you an example of a couple of people, actually 3 people that fell through the cracks. Let's go back 9 years. May seem like a long time, but it's really not that long ago. And I think it's emblematic of what we're doing when people come to our country and want to stay here, want the most valuable golden ticket there is. It's not to the Willy Wonka factory. It's to American soil. Two guys, their names are Wad Ramadan Alwan and Mohanad Sharif Hamadi. These two guys moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky. They were Muslims from Iraq. They were not the aforementioned endangered Christians. They came here. They did not immediately, when they landed on American soil, look for a job. No, they looked for public assistance. And you know what? They got it. We housed them in public housing in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They didn't go to school at Bowling Green. They didn't try and help in one of the school cafeterias, didn't try and get jobs. Nope. They immediately put their hand out and said, give us something. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And that's unfortunately emblematic of a lot of people that come to this country. We didn't look at them and say, hey, are these guys going to contribute, or are they going to suck off of our teat and be on the public dole? We didn't look into them. Well, guess what happened? Some American soldiers were blown up and murdered from 2003 to 2006. And these guys, Wad Alwan and Mohanad Hamadi, these guys murdered them. They used cell phones. The reason we were able to find out who they were is when they came into this country, they gave their fingerprints. And when we recovered the cell phone that had been put in storage for a little bit, for years before these guys came to the United States, because, again, this happened from 2003 to 2006. And like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, they put the Ark away, never to be seen again. We put the cell phone away for years. Well, eventually somebody got to it. They looked at the cell phone. It had fingerprints on it. And guess whose fingerprints on it they found? Well, they found the fingerprints of Wad Alwan and Mohanad Hamadi. These guys murdered American troops. And then we welcomed them onto our shores. And not only did we welcome them, we subsidized their housing. Come on. Is this the America we want? What if we have a Wad Alwan or a Mohanad Hamadi in one of these 126 immigrants we took in last year? What if we have it? What if we have one of these people or two of these people among the immigrants we're going to take in this year? Legally. These are not illegals. It's a price too high to pay that we would welcome to our shores murderers of Americans, of our American troops who were over there trying to free people, give them democracy. Democracy, by the way, that they don't appreciate and can't handle. And these are not the only guys, but by the way, there's more to their story. After they got this public housing in Bowling Green, after they started living in this subsidized apartment that they were given, guess what they did? They planned yet more terrorist attacks from U.S. soil because our troops were still there in great numbers. This was 2011. And until they got caught from 2006 to 2011, they were planning more terrorist attacks against our troops from here. Is that nerve or is that nerve? I mean, that's a lot of gall. And these are the kinds of people we're welcoming into America. There's another guy like this. And these are just the ones, just a few examples I've picked out. There are many, many more. There was a guy. He's had many names. He said his name was Nuruddin Malki. He said his name was Nuruddin X. He's given many different names. We don't know really who he is. Not long after 9/11, not long after our troops went into Afghanistan and Iraq in 2001 to 2003, when we were really setting up shop in these places, we welcomed in an immigrant. One of the names he gave us was Nuruddin Malki. He was a Muslim, a Sunni Muslim from Iraq. He did actually become gainfully employed very quickly, but that wasn't a good result either. He became an Army Arabic translator. So he was supposed to be translating top secret documents that came back from the war front, from the battleground. He came back to give our troops that information. He translated documents, but he didn't really translate them truthfully. Here's what he did. He translated documents for himself And then he lied to our military about what the documents said. Not only that, he knew of our troop movements in Iraq near the insurgents. And he told the insurgents where our troops were. So as a result, Al-Qaeda insurgents in Iraq murdered thousands, at least hundreds from that this guy killed, hundreds of our troops. He ambushed them. He put them in bad situations. He was one of our immigrants. He is a liar and a mass murderer. And we don't even know who he is because he gave us several different names. There's no way to vet these people. If even one of the 126 immigrants we took in North Dakota in 2019, if even one of them is a Nuruddin Malki or whatever his real name is, we're in trouble. And our troops who are still in harm's way all over the world, including in Iraq, where we've now sent troops back because of what's going on with Iran over there, they are in danger because of people like this. And we've only uncovered some of them. There are many more to come. Now, yes, you're telling me President Trump is president. He's tough on immigration. He's fought at the Supreme Court. He finally got some decisions that have backed his executive power over setting immigration policy. That's all true and all well and good, and why I'm proud that I voted for the president. He's trying to keep his campaign promises. He's trying to make America safe. But he's only president for 4 years for his first term, and as I believe, he gets reelected, another 4 years his second term. And then there'll be somebody else in there. And there is nobody like President Trump who is willing to go to the mat and get tough on our immigrants. So what are we going to do? We are a nation of immigrants, yes, but we aren't a nation of terrorists, and we shouldn't welcome them onto our shores. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and that's what's bothering me today on immigration, not just here in North Dakota, but around the country. We have to keep our borders safe. Not just from illegal immigrants, but the legal ones we take in voluntarily and welcome to our shores.